Hi guys, this is Omer from MMOs.com, another quick weekly news recap of all major MMO news, and announcements for the week ending December 2nd, 2019. This is episode number 223 of the recap, and the first of news this week is from Pearl Abyss regarding Black Desert Online. The game is introducing succession skills on December 4th, which allows players to the choice between specializing in their main weapons by sacrificing access to their awakening skills, and in return gets access to more powerful succession skills. These will be unlockable at level 56 by completing a series of quests from the Black Spirit. Only warriors and rangers get access to these on December 4th, but other classes will get their succession skills in the coming months. No word on whether these are objectively more powerful than awakening skills or not, but they were introduced to give players a choice between their awakening and their old weapon skills, whereas before awakening skills were just objectively better. I do feel like a lot of MMORPGs do a pretty poor job of giving players multiple viable builds, and there's usually one objectively good build and the rest are kind of iffy. Next up, EVE Online launched the second part of their Invasion update, aptly titled Invasion Chapter 2, which continues the Triglavian invasion storyline as well as adds a new playable ship, Triglavian Dreadnought class ship, the Zemitra. As with all other EVE Online updates, Invasion is completely free. There's a free-to-play version of EVE Online as well for those interested in the game. Despite its age, EVE Online is actually still going fairly strong with over 10,000 players. Actually, I'm pretty sure their average is over 25,000 or right around 25,000 at any given time, which is still pretty good. And while on the topic of EVE Online, it's worth mentioning EVE Echoes, the mobile version of EVE Online, is set to begin its open beta testing sometime on December 2nd. As a mobile version of EVE Online developed by NetEase, so it's not directly by CCP themselves. They did promise to deliver a full EVE Online-like experience on mobile. A lot of promises, but we'll see if they can live up to that. I'm always kind of skeptical about mobile games, but visually this game looks really good, and EVE Online as a game is quite impressive. So if they can translate that to mobile, it would be quite good. But again, I'm quite skeptical, but I will check the game out on December 2nd when the beta launches. Up next, ZeniMax announced they have a big reveal to announce this year's Game Awards on December 12th for ESL. With the conclusion of the Season of the Dragon drawing near, they'll be releasing a new trailer to wrap up the year-long saga. I expect some hints at the upcoming content updates and other goodies as well. Elder Scrolls Online remains one of the biggest MMORPGs in the West, and one well worth checking out. The game's player base is kind of evenly divided between PC, Xbox, and PS4, so numbers on Steam don't always look too impressive, but again, that's only one-third, actually less than one-third of their player base is the numbers you see on Steam, so the game is pretty popular. Next up, here we go again. Darewise Entertainment's upcoming sandbox MMO, previously known as Project C, is now officially called Life Beyond. I say here we go again because this is yet another spatial OS powered MMO. As we've seen before, these all end up being vaporware. The company promises massive worlds with complex ecosystems and cross-platform play between PC, console, mobile, and get this guys, cloud gaming as well. And yes, I'm also rolling my eyes over here. They're also asking for $150 to access the game, which is definitely raises some red flags. And here's a good rule of thumb for you guys: if you hear the word spatial OS, you run away. While I do hope we eventually do get a fully functional spatial OS powered MMORPG, I remain skeptical and probably will until we see an actual game that uses the technology. As is every MMORPG that tried to use this technology ended up shutting down or ditching technology altogether. So far, Spatial OS does not have a good track record for MMOs. Next update for an oldie. Fiesta Online launches the Ominous Valley update, which introduces new monsters, quests, and a brand new map titled, you guessed it, Ominous Valley. Fiesta is an oldie that was originally available in the West through Outspark back in 2007, but has since transferred the game ago. It was one of those super early free-to-play MMORPGs in the West, and surprisingly, it's still running. It's tough to recommend the game today, but I remember having a lot of fun with this back in the day, ages ago. But it's been running pretty much continuously since Outspark first published it back in 2007, so they're doing something right. Next up, a small update for Trove, the voxel sandbox MMORPG from Tryon Worlds. The game launched the Into the Deep update, which adds new world bosses called Leviathans. The club daily experience cap has also been increased as well as some small performance tweaks. It's not a big update, but it's an update. And despite its issues, I did have a lot of fun with Trove. Think Minecraft, but a lot more MMORPG-like. My biggest issue with Trove, if I remember correctly, was a lot of the game's classes required payment to unlock, or a huge amount of grind to unlock as well. Still, if you never played it, it's worth trying, I think. It's definitely worth trying. Next, we have two announcements from Daybreak Games regarding both EverQuest and EverQuest 2, but we'll start with EverQuest 1. The game's Torment of Velius expansion set to launch on December 18th, and it's a big update which increased the game's level cap to 115, adds 6 new expansion zones, new raids, quests, missions, spells, AAs, combat abilities, and more. Despite EverQuest being one of the oldest MMORPGs still running, it launched back in 1998, it still gets regular expansions, I believe once a year, and it's actually still quite popular. The cheapest version of the expansion is available for $35, with the most expensive version at $250. It's crazy that despite its age, this game still gets an update basically every single year, a big expansion every year. Next up, we have an update for EverQuest 2 as well. The Blood of Lucan expansion for the game is set to launch on December 17th, 2019, just a day before the EverQuest 1's update. This latest expansion increased the game's level cap to 120, adds new solo, heroic, and raid content, as well as other goodies as well. It's a big expansion of the game, and it'll be launching on December 17th, and the cheapest version is $34.99, with the most expensive version at $250. And despite being a sequel to EverQuest, the game is actually quite old. It launched back in November of 2004, the same month World of Warcraft released. This game actually came out about 3 weeks before World of Warcraft. Next up, Jagex released a Ranch Out of Time update, which is of course a play on the Land Before Time movie series, which introduces dinosaur farming to the game. It's an extension of the game's farming skills and builds upon RuneScape's player-owned farm content. They also raised the farming and herblore skill cast from 99 to 120, and introduced a host of new farming and herblore content and skills. This, of course, is for regular old RuneScape, not old school RuneScape. Up next, a tiny update for Lost Ark, which I know many of you guys are excited for, and myself as well, actually. The update comes courtesy of MMO Culture, which translated the official job posting on Smilegate website for the game. While we still have no official release date for the Western version of Lost Ark, Smilegate is hiring product managers fluent in English with experience launching games in the West. While this definitely sounds great, we still have no official timetable for a Western release. It is good news that they're actually hiring people for the game to be localized eventually, and they are working on it. My guess is that we get an announcement sometime in early 2020, and it launches in Q3 2020. But again, that's just Remo's guess. There's a lot of hype for this one, and they'd be crazy not to capitalize on that hype. Next up, let's all say a final prayer for BattleBorn, which is officially shutting down on January 2021. Surprisingly, Gearbox is committing to keeping the game open for at least another year. I'm pretty sure the PC version of the game is long dead, but perhaps there's a few people playing on the console version. This one was kind of doomed from the get-go, and despite it being a MOBA, it was still overshadowed by Overwatch simply because the visuals are kind of similar. I'm actually kind of surprised they're keeping the game running for at least another year. I guess it's a win for the fans of the game, though. Speaking of games shutting down, next on side-scrolling action mobile Hyper Universe is also shutting down on Xbox early next year, nearly a year and a half after its official launch. The shutdown date is on February 2020, and honestly, I thought this was already shut down, but I guess not. This one's pretty doomed early on, as the mobile field is just incredibly crowded. I remember they also randomly censored the Western version's big busted female characters in the game as well, which nobody asked for. It's like, come on guys, everybody knows the big booby characters are a selling point for the game. Don't take it away from us, especially when the Korean version has them uncensored. Anyway guys, rest in pepperoni for Hyper Universe. Next on mobile MMORPG, Project 4 is launching on PC in South Korea next month. This is particularly interesting because PC games are the ones that usually end up launching on mobile, not the other way around. Rarely do we get a game that's on mobile launching on the PC. But it looks like we are slowly seeing more and more of this. We mentioned last week that Lineage 2 will be launching with a special PC emulator, and I expect that we'll be seeing more and more mobile games launching with either PC clients or specific mobile emulators for the PC. No word on any kind of global launch for Project 4 just yet, but visually the game does look pretty, which isn't a surprise that it is built on Unreal Engine 4. I'm still waiting for a mainstream mobile MMORPG to launch without autoplay though. Next and last bit of news this week is an oddball free-to-play PC MOBA called Blood of Steel, which isn't quite like any other MOBA you've seen. It's a medieval-themed game with 5v5, 10v10, 7v7, and 1v1 battles. Each player controls up to 40 AI soldiers at once, so it's looking a bit more like Dynasty Warriors or Kessen rather than a traditional MOBA. The game is actually available right now on Steam as in closed beta, with the official release date on January 9th. You do have to hand to them for at least trying something a bit different. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week for MMO News. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the podcast, and yeah, it's actually happening.